research in mental health. I pretty much traded a business career. I worked for 10 years as a strategic manager for Intel, doing lots of business with a lot of money. And then because of a family member, I am completely committed to this world of mental health. I really want to find solutions with technology, so I quit my career to come here, and I'm very happy to have done so. And lately, what I've been focusing is in the stress. So, you know, there's very interesting statistics around it. You know, obesity is a big problem, and it's driven in a big part through stress. Cardiovascular health also suffers greatly by stress. But the most interesting to me is this strategic stress management part. It's like people actually know that it's important, but they don't know how to do it. So that's a big problem right there. For me, these are also very big problems. But this one, you know, people knowing that it's a problem, but not knowing how to solve it, there's where technology can come and do something about it. Or and other types of approaches too. The problem is that contemporary stress management looks like this one. Eventually, you end up like, that's this and this, both of it. I do. Yeah. You know, sometimes you kick somebody or yell at some other person. And the problem is that contemporary therapy also looks like this, you know, like you fighting with your psychologist, trying to get yourself to be understood by somebody. And that's fine. The problem is that most of the therapy that's been developed around stress management is developed by psychologists, which are people who understand our minds pretty well, but they don't really understand UI design that well, so they end up designing for this guy. You know, if they design anything that's technological. So we have to, the approach that we're taking is like, can we actually do it the other way around? Can we, as HCI researchers, look at what technology can offer to actually improve the situation of therapy, rather than taking the theory of psychology, converting it, automate it, or make it better? No, the other way around. Let's look at what we can do as designers to actually improve that. You look at what people do normally. What is the contemporary use of technology, the adoption of technology? And, you know, in adoption of technology is becoming more interesting. People want to put all sorts of things nowadays on them, according to the wearable computing world. So based on that, we came with an idea that I worked over the summer, which is what we call pop therapy. We basically wanted to see if there is ways to extract those kernels of activities that could have interventional power. Can we actually use little things like playing a game, going into Facebook, talking with somebody as an intervention, something that people already do? Can we harvest those mechanics to actually repurpose them to give psychological power treatment? And I work with, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I work with lots of people, even with lawyers, because we had to incentivize people to actually use the system. It wasn't up. And, you know, then you get all sorts of problems with gambling. So we had to discuss the gambling mechanisms in the state of Washington. So pretty much what we're saying is, like, can we use our well-adopted technologies, the top ones, and actually generate interventions? On top of that, can we actually find a way to understand the context? Because there's where technology can also add a lot of value. By knowing the personal characteristics and the context, can we actually determine policies to deliver these interventions? There's where the machine learning part came, and the work with machine learning. You know, all sorts of metrics that we can gather, subjective and sensors, that easily can help us, determine this. And the third challenge is, can we actually do it for a long term? Which is usually the problem. I mean, you can change something in behavior change. It's not that complicated to make somebody do one thing or two things, but then sustain it over the long term is a complicated problem. Can we actually do it over the long term? Can we actually teach people to cope with stress over the long term with these little things? So we started that challenge, which sounded kind of, for some people, a bit nuts, because they said, like, how can you do that? I mean, you don't even know if this thing works. We said, well, let's look at it, one step at a time. We defined that we want to do a simple longitudinal study for 4 weeks. We recruited 80 people and we measured different things daily, weekly, and before and after the experiment. We use the app to actually gather data subjectively using the circumflex model, which is a traditional model used for affect recognition. And we defined that we wanted to create a 2x2 experiment where we have the machine learning people receiving policies based on machine learning and context, and people receiving random interventions. And we also wanted to see if we give them the opportunity to select what they want to do versus not selecting what they want to do with having impact. So we pretty much allocated people in these areas. Now, before I get into the other details of the methodology, the design challenge was very interesting because how do we start by looking at what could be an intervention? I mean, what could look like an intervention? So the very first thing that we did is actually, before getting into this theoretical lattice, we went into like, let's look at the top apps that people use. Let's look at the top games that people use. And we observed very interesting things, looking at calendar, things to chat, looking at funny LOL cats, you know, but lots of usage with lots of stars. Like, how much value can this actually bring? Is this like really long-term entertaining value? Or maybe they have some more than that. So we started looking at that and we said, why don't we intersect those, you know, the top things with the top therapy trends that we see nowadays, and let's see if they fit somewhere. So we took positive psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, the metacognitive processes, which is emotional regulation, and somatic processes, which are traditionally used by therapists nowadays. And there's also apps around some of them, apps for breathing, apps for other things. But we didn't go and find the apps for breathing. No, what we wanted is to define what this means, and we said, you know, positive psychology, the techniques looks like, you know, giving thanks to somebody or being kind to somebody. They actually, these things have value. You know, they have proven already that there's value in lab settings. Cognitive behavior is like reframing a situation by thinking about it. Metacognitive, for example, emotional regulation, like should I distract myself for a moment? That has value to actually break some of the stress buildup. Well, then somatic is relaxation, sleep. So can we find things that look like that? And we actually created what we named the different interventions of the different categories. We created 8 categories. You know, each of them belong to each of the 4 categories, but we have individual and social, the difference. So we have food for the soul. We call it food for the soul for the individual positive psychology, and social soul, the social positive psychology. And then, you know, all these other names for the other ones. So then we started saying, like, okay, can we use Facebook, for example, as an intervention? And we actually added a little prompt, you know, just go to Facebook, but based on this theory, don't just go to Facebook, but go there and they say, like, everybody has something they do really well. Find an example on Facebook timeline that showcases one of your strengths. So this is related to the strengths theory, positive psychology. So instead of asking you to think about strength, go back and look in your face timeline. You have, most likely, you have already recorded a good moment where it showcases that you're actually, you know, one of your strengths. So just go and look at it. You know how to navigate timeline with Facebook. So I don't need to teach you how to use the mechanics. It's already there. I just need to give you a very simple instruction, and you will go and do it, but with the right priming based on the theory. So that's the way we created the interventions. This next slide shows most of the interventions. They kind of it looks very busy, but we know every intervention had a little priming phrase and the link. So we ask them to go directly to the link. You know, they say do this, and then they say okay, and they go directly to the link through the app. They don't need to go to Facebook and write Facebook. No, the app takes them directly to there, and they have to perform the task.
Yeah. Are these task instructions connected to the self-assessment?
No, they should be separated. In theory, they are 2 different processes. So self-assessment is you are just measuring, we're just asking you at random times during the day, you know, like what is your state, what is your mood. It should not be related with triggering anything.
So what triggers those things? You're going to come to that?
The user.
The user, on what basis?
On the basis that we ask them to use this intervention, this app several times during the week, so that they can get, paid. But they didn't need to be used. They didn't need to use it. We didn't trigger the usage. We said use it. You have to use it 10 times over the week. Whenever you feel stressed, use it.
In other words, they have to use each of those 10 times during the week?
No. Depending on the condition, if they were in the random condition and no selection, it will generate a random one and it will appear to them. If they were in the machine learning, they will receive a machine learning generated one that will tell them. So pretty much what we did is we separated the when from the what. When to intervene versus what to intervene. In part because it's very hard to actually do a longitudinal study around that. We want to study the when. It's a very deep and complex problem, when people should use it. But this time what we wanted to do is, given that you tell me that you're stressed, and given that I know who you are and what you're doing, this is what you should do.
I mean, I would have sort of tied it to this how are you feeling thing, and then have it pick something based on what you've...
You could. So the only thing we did is, based on this, what we did is after they answered this question here over there, we said if you think you may need an intervention, you can use it, but we never force anybody to use the intervention. There was no forcing on usage. We did prompt them to, maybe you want, and if you don't, don't use it. So we didn't influence the timing, which by itself is a very important problem.
Well, I'm not even sure about the time, but it's still the choice of what sort of intervention.
The choice is it's either random or machine learning selected, but if you are in the selection category, you can actually go and choose what you want.
Okay. I mean, I was just saying maybe the selection can be made automatically by the circle where the circle is.
No.
Okay.
No. The selection is made by a machine learning algorithm, which takes way more than the circle. It takes these, lots of other phone data. I'm going to explain a bit more what are all the things that were involved to actually tell you that.
Okay.
So, so these are the interventions. What we used is, a machine learning algorithm based on contextual bandit problem and random forest to actually train this problem. And we pretty much, what we wanted is to retrain based on the whole population, every day, based on the choices, but also maximize your individual choices based on each branch of the random forest. And pretty much at the end, what you're trying is to reduce the gap of stress, the difference of stress between before and after the intervention, given the context in the intervention. That's the bottom line. The features that we used, which you were asking, is we used from the phone we extracted all these features. From the user we extracted all these features. The self-report is the 2x2 that you're asking. So that's only one line in all these mesh of things. So we use all these things to train what I should give you. And not only for you, but also given in the other characteristics of those people who look like you too. So just to give you a quick sense of how the app look, sadly the app's down now, and that was expected. We only used the app for 1 month, and it has to go down because it's a big project for Microsoft. But let me show you very quickly how the app looks, so you can have a feeling of how it was. I actually have a video, but it's a bit unedited, kind of long right now, so I will not use it. But pretty much, the app drove two elements: the ecological momentary intervention, which is the intervention that I should give you, and the ecological momentary assessment, which was that 2x2. Those are two different problems. They should be separated. They are not correlated. These enters into the machine learning model, but they are not driven one to the other. They just help you gather. This helps you gather data. This helps you deliver an intervention. So pretty much what we had is before the person used the app. I'm sorry, when the person uses the app and says I'm stressed, the first thing we ask is the level of stress from low to high. So they have to say in a little scale, what's your level of stress right now? And we ask this way, right? And then once we get that data, we run the machine learning algorithm for those who are in that category, and we provided provide them with one of the categories. We said you should do something that's good for the soul. It's so bad, the projection.
Did somebody turn the lights off?
So pretty much what we said is, you know, you have, it gives you an idea of what good for the soul. It says, you know, good deeds can generate positive outcomes. You know, let's try something. And then we ask them, time both by so fast, find out good moment of memory in your Facebook timeline. And then they have to say launch. And then they are taken directly to the Facebook page, embedded in the browser. We develop it in HDMI, you know, complete HDMI, so that we can have embedded. That kind of limited a little bit our flexibility because we had to find web apps, you know, to actually work. And the problem is that I'm not gonna speak too much because Microsoft is gonna kill me, but there's some limitation in Windows Phone 8 that, you know, could be improved, you know, with a more open. Yeah, Android will do it. So anyway, we might develop an Android thing here, but it helped. It was sufficient, you know, at least to start. So they go there and they pretty much go through the task, and at the end we say, okay, rate your stress again, and they pretty much say, you know, where, and that's the end of the intervention. They were designed to be 2-3 minute interventions, no more. We didn't want 20 minutes, 30 minutes. That 2-3 minute mobile intervention that should happen during a you know, simple moment, you know, break that you're taking.
Can you describe one other intervention scheme? So we've seen this one now, where you find something positive on your timeline.
Yeah, they were here, right? So
another one.
The games, for example, we said, shall we play a short game, and we send it to the magicappstore.com, and you have simple games there. Actually, I don't know if I can show you the video. Maybe I can show you the video very quickly, so we can take a.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a. So. Well, it's me. Right? So, you know, I'm very stressed because I don't find the cable like right now, right? This was a prep talk. It's a great example, right? Exactly what happened. You know, if it wasn't a prep talk, I would be like very stressed. So I finalized doing the thing, and I'm like, oh, right? So then I'm prompted to use something, and I pretty much go into the app, and it sends me to Facebook. That was the Facebook. Now here, for example, I'm working and I'm like very stressed. I'm doing a dual speed. You know, oh my God, you know, I have to turn in something. I got an email from my job. I need to do something, and then eventually I'm prompted to do some little thing. No, I want to do something. I'm not prompted, right? So it sends me to the pictures, looking at pictures one. This is my boss yelling at me. I'm like really stressed. This was my friend from the media lab. We used to yell at each other like that because he's from Spain. I'm from Ecuador. Yeah, it's normal. So then I go to the app, and then I register, you know, my mood. I'm in red, really bad. And then I say, do I want an intervention? Yes. I select my stress. Then I say, hey, why don't we do something? I said, no, but I don't want to do what you gave. And then I go into the menu. This is something. So this is something that I don't have it in this slide, which is, yeah, this one. See? See, this menu here is the one that people with the selection option receive. But we never publicized it anywhere, because if you reveal that it was a selection option in any point, you will eventually bias people in any category. You cannot reveal that there is a selection option. So people who were in the selection option, they thought it was normal to have a selection option. People who were not in the selection option, they thought it was normal not to have a selection option. So not in the manuals, not in the recruitment, we were extremely careful not to advertise this thing anywhere. So otherwise we would bias immediately. You know, that's the problem with some of the psychology that you do. So.
Do you have any data on people's ability to assess their own level of stress? So, I mean, some people may be more aware of it than others. Yeah. Like, I can get really stressed and not even be aware that I'm stressed. I mean,
sure.
I tend to block things out when I'm stressed.
So that's actually a very interesting question, because from previous research, see, this is a little game thing. You were playing a game for like 2 minutes, and then you say, okay, I'm done. You know. So yes, some people are very good, some people are very bad. And that's one of the things that, you know, we want to improve with time. That's why the second part of my talk, which I'm not going to make it, it's about how to sense stress, which we're working with John. Can we actually sense stress without having to ask you anything? But not by measuring your heart. I think we're actually measuring your tension in your arm. It's a very cool experiment. You know, we are using the mouse to detect stress. But the interesting thing, complementing that question, is that people who got in the experiment, they at the end said, like, I became much more aware. Just by being asked by 2 by 2 often, I became more aware of how stressed I am and how much need I deserve. And others actually reported, I learned that, you know, I don't need to necessarily play games, but I need a break. So that's what we want. That's what coping means. You know, stop. Learn to cope, which is what we really wanted out of this research. So anyways, I'm sorry it went so fast, but there was games, there were several other things in the games. Asked them to read things, look at pictures. We asked them to stretch, for example, but we showed them the stretch images. So we say, oh, do these images, and do this, do that, stretch. We show the images in Pinterest. So it's a guided stretching. Many other more that you can see. So that's pretty much what we got from the experiment. Now let me show you some of the results, which are pretty interesting. So first of all, before we ran the experiment, we actually asked close to 4,000 people so that we can recruit the 80. You know, we asked them if they want to participate, but we also asked them some questions. One question we asked is that, what do you do to relax yourself? And the interesting thing is that 22% of them use technology. They say that they use technology as a way to relieve the stress. And the interesting thing is that, you know, if you see gaming, it's very high there. Console gaming mostly, but it's mostly for males. Males like to play games, and I just bought my Xbox, and it's true. Like, I'm like stressed. I go play FIFA 14. If I win, I'm like happy. If I lose, I'm more stressed. Anyways, there's gaming, and there is, you know, social networking, text messaging, mobile apps, and others. So it's interesting. There is already, you know, some evidence that people actually use, but this is just 20%. So it fits with the statistics that we saw at the beginning that said that people know that they have problems, but only a very few of them know what to do. So yeah, we were in trouble. This but pretty much this is what we ended up with, you know, with 80 users, 89 users, I believe, 90. So these users were assigned to each of the conditions, you know, 20 plus users, and they perform at the end of the experiment about 1,300 interventions without telling them to intervene. They had to select. We did pay them more if they used it more, but we never asked them when to do it. So that's what they did. And it's interesting because the random experiment assigned randomly, as it should, you know, evenly distributed the interventions. But the machine learning actually created, you know, a clean, as you can see, a bias. So machine learning found that the social souls, the positive psychology, social one, was one that people liked. The positive psychology individual one, another one that people actually liked. Well, not like, it was effective because they were minimizing the delta in stress. Then these two are the body health. Those are the somatic, moving, stretching, breathing, stuff. So the other ones were also sent, but not the same rate. This is just a graph that shows that each of the participants received different levels, you know, different interventions of intervention. Before I get into the hardcore qualitative thing, there is some subjective ratings, which were also very interesting to observe. We asked them, you know, at the end of each week, which intervention did you like, which group did you like more, and also at the end of this is aggregated for the whole experiment, and we see that, you know, people did like the body health, and this is the body health social. And they also perceived it as effective. The yellow one is effective, so they perceive it as it works. They likely don't perceive it as it works. There are some people who perceive it also as ineffective. The other one is food for the soul. This is the positive psychology one. These also, show that people like it, but they perceive it less effective. It's cute, not necessarily good, but cute, right? What they use. This is actually the average, the delta that we measure over all of the days. So the delta, variation. There is no significance in this one, but machine learning has a tendency to be better than the rest, perform better.
Vertical axis.
This is the stress before and stress after. The two sliders are
stress reduction.
Stress reduction. This is stress reduction. How much it reduced the stress. So machine learning did perform a little better than the other two. The other two. But in general, we had very low average. This was kind of a bit puzzling because in lab experiments, when you ask the same question, 0 to 10, what's your stress, the typical average is for a stressed person, the reduction, if it's a good intervention, around 2 points, like from 10 or 0.2. But we were getting around 0.05, it's much lower. And I explained a little bit what would be some of the reasons and how can new research could actually explore. Part of it is because some people were really gaming the system. They were like, oh, I need to do 10 of these. I do it. To rate whatever. We didn't put any restrictions in how to rate. So some people we saw like people were like rating completely, not like, I'm 0.9, I'm completely stressed, and at the end of the intervention, after 2 seconds, because they were like, black play, I'm completely stressed again. They didn't do anything. Of course they could do. Or 0, 0, I'm like completely calm. Or just 1 second intervention.
Yeah. There may be 2 other factors.
Yeah.
One is that they think that Big Brother is watching them, and they want to make a good impression. Big Brother so they don't get kicked out or whatever.
Right.
But the other one may be even just myself. If I actually took the time to do something.
Right. And
then I say it was totally ineffective. I feel super effective. I'm probably biased as, oh yeah, I do feel ineffective.
Yes.
Otherwise, I would never do it again.
Indeed.
It would be interesting if you could sense stressfulness by the way they're using the keyboard, the way they're using the mouse, and automatically intervene.
So
tell them you're acting like you're stressed.
That's exactly what we're doing right now, and we just need to plug these 2 things. We're almost there. Also, more data. If you see this is an interesting graphic. Even though they were able to select, most of the people didn't go and select anything. They just used whatever was proposed to them. And we told them, use the thing. Use this, do this thing, but if you don't want it, you can go and select something. 98% of the time they didn't select it. However, if you see the machine learning, there was a reduction at the end of the experiment, and this could be explained in part because they are starting to feel like silly or bored or other effects that knock doors.
Or they just develop liking for some particular.
Or they develop liking for some particular thing. The interesting thing is that we never changed the interventions at all over 4 weeks. And there's a lot of discussion that could happen around this. Are these like short? What's the time that these interventions have, the real time, effective time? But that's something that's becoming so. This is the decrease in participation. We started with 20-some, as you saw, and then we ended up with about 8 on each, 7 on each category. This is traditionally observed in other types of therapies too, the type of decay. This has to be explored further. Why do we have the decay? What happened? We have asked some questions qualitative. Some people say that they didn't know how to use it. Some people hated it. Some people say it was stupid. Some people say like I like it, but I'm like too busy, and I hate the 2x2 prompting me every 2 hours. I need to turn this thing on. So that's causing stress. Some people say this app's making me more stressed because now I'm aware that I was stressed. I didn't know it.
So one thing was you said you didn't change the interventions. Yeah. So one of them, I think the game one's kind of could be a little bit different. But to find something in Facebook, once I find that, then it pops me again.
Go and see the same thing. Yeah, I know.
So I'm not sure.
It would be it's boredom. This is some quantitative results. This is the part that keeps us excited about this whole thing. So we did measure depression and coping skills with formal scales that psychologists use. And we observe a reduction in depression traits, not people that are depressed, depression traits. This scale is used as both in the preventive medicine world and also in the treatment medicine. So if you track these, every week, you could detect somebody's falling into depression. So we saw that there was a reduction overall, and machine learning again did some better than the others. And in terms of coping skills, we also observed a reduction an improvement. I'm sorry, this is a ratio. This is a ratio of constructive over destructive coping skills. There's a 20 questions tool that we use, and 10 of them are for constructive, 10 for destructive, and you can measure what your tendency. When I'm stressed, I go and kick something, or I go and yell at somebody. That's destructive. That doesn't help you improve. Or when I'm stressed, I calm down and I breathe. These type of questions were asked here, and we observed that coping improved over time. So this is the most exciting one. We actually see people learning to cope, and we ask questions at the end. Yeah.
I'm not quite clear on the,
Okay.
on the top level. What's really plotted in the vertical axis? I mean, it's really depression level. It would seem that things, for instance, for machine learning, got worse for 3 weeks. And only in the last week they got better again. I mean, is that what the data says? Or is that the depression level reduction that you're plotting, or what?
No, this is depression level. It actually kind of improved, got worse time, and at the end it started improving.
That's kind of weird.
They all get worse.
The colors are different than the previous colors, by the way.
Well, I think it says ML no select the orange curve, but whatever that orange curve is.
It looks like it's getting worse.
Yeah, and I mean, how can you be so optimistic and positive how great it was? It just goes back to the start.
This is not the greatest result. This is a result we observed, that we wanted to report because it has some significance in the analysis.
Okay.
This is the one that actually is aligned directly with our hypothesis, which was the coping one. And we actually, this is improvement. This is actually the other way. This is constructive over destructive. So as it gets high, it gets better.
Okay, that's
so this should go up. This should go up. This should go up. It's good to see also that there is a drop at the end, because if you see that the last week people were getting bored. We got a lot of drops. We got a lot of
again, the blue curve basically for 2 weeks really gets bad.
Yeah, this is a random intervention.
Yeah, but still, I mean, random just I wouldn't think that it does any harm. This could indicate that it actually does harm.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, and it could be because some of the things that we were mentioning. Maybe I'm feeling like more stressed with this stupid app, right? And I'm not learning anything here.
It doesn't come back up to the quality when we started. This blue curve, right? We are 3.5.
Right. It doesn't. Yes. Overall, the random thing is not necessarily encouraging. So it's not that you can throw anything at people. So you need to do some contextual analysis.
How confident are you that your measurement of coping strategies, whether they're constructive or destructive, is actually a good measurement? Is that an accurate measurement?
Well, this is a highly used tool in psychology, in longitudinal studies. It's we use the coping skills questionnaire is like highly used not only in therapy for psychology but also in pain therapy, where they actually teach people. They want to assess if people can deal with pain over time, in a constructive way. So there is a lot of literature that shows the effectiveness of this.
Well, is it basically answering questions in a questionnaire? Is that what this is?
Yes.
So maybe, and if it's the same questionnaire every time, so there could be there could be some acculturation or getting used to these questions, and having somehow repetitiveness has an effect on the answers they give as opposed to actual coping.
There could be that effect. Yeah, I mean,
I see another potential thing that is evident here. It looks like the machine learning program at the beginning makes bad choices for whatever reason that are worse than random. But gradually it learns, and as it gets to know the customer better, it starts to make better and better suggestions, and so then the curve can improve.
Right. So it is actually designed that way. So we didn't do any assessment, pre-definition of features or anything.
Okay,
we
so
started
blank
slate. So the random tree starts getting populated, and at the beginning it's pretty much random.
Although it's kind of strange, like it's not matching the blueprint. Right. So how much are the error bars here? I mean, if the error bars are that big,
I need the error bars.
Maybe it's not all that good.
Actually, Pablo, that's because week 0 is like a pre.
That's pre.
So you would expect.
This is before any intervention.
Before any intervention, and since they're randomized, you expect the groups to be the same.
Right.
Right. So their coping skills. So even without the error bars, we get kind of a sense of the variation, and those 2 points at the beginning should be the same point.
Should be.
That's what worries me.
Right. So it's kind of like
I should go back and observe what happened with this data, But you're right. This is pre-intervention, and this is post-intervention.
Right. It's like
and these are the individual weeks.
But like the difference, even before you've introduced anything, the difference between these populations is already larger than the difference that you see between. So there could be some issues that you have to be careful of.
Maybe we should have a question.
So I guess there wasn't a control group. There was no intervention. Assessment.
Sorry, what?
There was no control group. There was no intervention that still was the assessment.
Yeah, we didn't.
Like there might be some artifacts in the questions themselves.
Right.
It would be good.
Yeah, no, there's the control group we used was the random. It doesn't control for the fact of just observing.
Or their habits of filling out the questionnaires might change over time.
Okay.
I just had some, I don't know, I was just giving you some general feedback. I don't know if you want some feedback. First of all, we start, I think you should tell a little story, even that story at the beginning about, here's how people manage stress now, it was sort of humorous, and people were kind of like, now invite us to be part of your story. Then I think you should show just some example story, like a 30-second video or something about the app.
Yeah.
So literally, you started showing app screens, and it wasn't until like many slides.
Okay.
Oh, it's an app. Oh, okay. Like if you just show it, why couldn't we have an application like that? So then you can basically launch into, well, how would you design that? When you come back to these results, you should bring up those hypotheses again.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot what they were.
That's true.
You might want to. I know you explained this pretty clearly, but they were a little long, and it was hard to remember what all the different ones and these different ones linked to different examples of what the results were. Let me see. So some of the slides also, we had the issue about the phone with the sensors and things. You had kind of everything possible you can measure. I mean, maybe just like simplify. Like we had their calendar. Well, okay, we can imagine what if someone really wants to know what kind of data is that like that. So that's just like minimizing right there. Yeah.
There's a couple of other slides here. These are some qualitative questions we asked at the end. So we asked, what did you learn, out of this whole thing, after 4 weeks? And they answered that, mostly I'm more aware of stress. Not necessarily I'm more aware how to deal with it. How to deal with it wasn't bad, also 65%. But they said I'm very aware because you are asking me this thing every hour. And there's a lot of other people who say that I quit before because of that. I'm like tired of you asking me. Even though we did it every hour and a half, it's already tiresome. Last summer they ran another experiment where they asked every 30 minutes. People like quitting like a day. So it seems like, this prompting, for, self-assessment really gets extremely annoying. So it could be part of, not necessarily the intervention, could be also this.
And probably you should also time it to the activities the user has. In the middle of writing a program, which is just figured out, when the thing comes up, I'm very annoyed.
Yeah.
If you, at the end, when I just did a save, there's a break for 10 seconds,
we didn't use any of that, and we should definitely. The only thing we did is a snooze button. If you don't want to do it, you can do it later. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing we had, but we didn't time it. Like if I'm busy, I should, or I'm driving, something like that. It wasn't there. These are just, some things that people said. I just do them. They wanted to try activity, for stress. They're willing to try things. I mean, at the end, what they said, yeah, I'm willing to see more stuff. I'm interested in this stuff. I'm interested that. So there's a natural interest for learning how to code. That we knew before that, and some people reported that they did learn something out of playing a game, out of looking at Facebook.
I think that second one, being more aware of my stress is stressful, is a kind of an interesting.
That's very interesting too. And we have seen that in other studies before we did. The very same intervention that calms you down then stress the hell out of you if it's not done under the right context. So we were expecting this, but it's actually pretty high. 30% of people say like,
So one would think that the control groups who actually become aware of their stress level should actually go up. One would think during the period of the test.
Yeah. Well, we saw some change in stress. It did actually, the reduction, well, it stayed kind of stable, the reduction. Even improvement. But this group, for example, the random one, pretty much found no.
That big drop at the end is kind of strange.
This is at the very last 2 days.
Yeah.
Last 3 days. Yeah, the last week was interesting. There was a lot of people tired. 4 weeks seemed to be like really fast.
I forgot how you selected people. Was it they weren't all at the same company or something? Maybe some.
No, we sent an email to the whole to a pool of 40,000 people that Microsoft has from everywhere. The only problem, that big problem that we have, is that to get all that contextual data, you actually needed to do Windows Phone 8. Windows Phone 7 doesn't allow you to do this type of processing. So out of the pool of like 1,000 people that we could have used with Windows Phone, we went down to 100, which was very sad. Because we wanted to run a 300 before. We got a budget for that. We couldn't even get 100 with Windows Phone 8.
This also, you had always these intervention strategies which you showed. It was on that slide just for a second. But did they have some kind of iconography of them? You ask people to remember them. I can't.
There was iconography.
They have these clever names you made, and I can imagine being asked about them.
Well, there was this iconography here. I don't have the menu, but they have, this was like this yin yang, and then you have for the social one was 2 yin yangs, then the heart for the emotional one with the hearts. The body was a person moving with 2 bodies, and the other one was a brain, which was a cognitive one. Brain.
You might want to put those up on the slides.
Yeah. I was working on the slides last night, and I couldn't find that one, but so I think that's as much time as I had. I wanted to talk about the other thing, but there's no. Oh, one last thing you asked me. So if you filter for the ideal users, very interesting. For those who report having stress before, above 0.5. From 0 to 1. Those who report to be stressed, in theory at least. And who spend 60 seconds or more in the app. You actually see a much better improvement in the intervention, in the delta. Way better than the 0.05. It's like close to 3 times as much power. So there was a lot of people who use the app with a level 2 stress, which is like, I'm completely calm, so why should I be using a stress management app? And there was a lot of people who used the app for 2 seconds, for 1 second. So lots of it, I'm not talking about a few, lots of them. So if you leave the ones who actually work, who actually were stressed, and spend time on it, they actually get benefits. But that's something that we actually need to, embed into the way we recruit, the way we get people, the way even how machine learning analyzes things, which were not embedded in this study. So that's why we want to run a new study with all these things.
So that suggests I can't
how maybe these two things in the bottom did you look for any sort of correlation between
Yes.
spend and
Yeah, this is the stress before and the stress after. You know, this is the before you use the intervention, and this is after you use the intervention.
right? But if you're suggesting that a lot of your data points are not meaningful because the app was only used for a second or two,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I wonder if it would probably be useful to plot like maybe the x-axis have time spent in the app, and then
Yeah.
the y-axis have delta.
This is time spent, logarithmic time spent.
Oh,
This versus the delta here.
okay. So that
This is logarithmic time spent from 60 seconds up to 6,000 seconds. Which,
it doesn't really look like it supports the hypothesis.
well, yeah, I mean, if you compare only here, if you see here, there is diminishing results after a certain amount of time. That's what this one's saying. You know, you get close to 0.2 intervention power. Remember that the previous intervention power, the intervention that we observed, was 0.05. Right? Where is it? 0.05. So they already got 4 times the intervention power. 4 times more.
Right, but
But there is diminishing results after a while.
But that suggests that they're getting that value after like 1 second.
No. Yeah. So this is 60 seconds. This is 1 minute. It starts at 1 minute.
Ah.
It's a really filter. As I said, these are the ideal users, the one who spent 60 seconds or more, and who were already point. But this is not the whole population.
Okay.
Sorry for misleading you. This is the ideal user. So at 1 second, at 1 minute, you get good results, and it seems like around, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. If you spend too much time, you start actually getting diminishing results. You spend too much time in this.
So one thing that I guess that might just help us.
Yeah, see the whole thing, right?
If you actually did extend that to the left, and
Yeah.
you looked at people
Yeah.
who only used it for 1 second, do you see the same?
Yeah, no, I actually have that, and yeah, it works. Yeah, but I don't know if I have.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't need to. It was more just a.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm biasing the audience here with this. I can show you the whole thing, and you would see that there's less power.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would be good. That would
Yeah,
suggest
well,
that
sure.
you're doing
Yeah,
something.
I'll add that. Here. Thank you for the.
All right, guys, let's give
Okay.
Pablo another round of applause.
Thank you.